love Rachel. Oh my gosh, I know!
All right, hello students. How are we? You all right? Come on in. I bow to your inner Buddha. So, we have but 2 classes left, I believe. Is that correct? No, 2 weeks maybe. 4 classes left. The last class being a test. Come in. I bow to your inner Buddha. So, and we'll do something of a review or something in the class before the tests. We need to get through entrepreneurship and management and finance, and then we're done. Come on in. Come on in. I bow to your inner Buddha. So, and you will have completed introduction to business. Have we learned anything? What have we learned? Innovate, yes, always the right answer. What else have we learned? Ethics, oh, we like that. Transparency, what else? What? I am not going to be held responsible for chat roulettes. Quite a sight. What else have we learned? Globalization. We've learned globalization. Do any of you feel more prepared to take your creative endeavors and get them out into, come on in, I bow to your inner Buddha, and get them out to a wider audience? A little bit? Do any of you feel that understanding target markets and those types of things is more important now than when we started the class those many months ago? I've done something right. Let's see what else. Are any of you all inspired to go out and start something? Yes. You've done many things right. You will have these moments of inspiration, and then you will leave here and become uninspired, and you must fight through this. Right? It is those who fight through what Seth Godin calls the dip. Right? I believe we've referenced the dip before. And wow. Look at this. Here is the answer to your final exam. Memorize it and you will do fine. Who would like to explain it to me? It's like that scene in Rushmore, right? Anybody seen Rushmore? Not many, huh? Nobody likes the Rushmore? We like Rushmore. Max. Max solves the hardest math problem in the world. What this school really needs is a world-class aquarium. It needs a world-class aquarium. Could quote from Rushmore all day long. So, the dip. This is the dip, right? And it's those that fight through the dip that gain, come on in, please. I bow to your inner Buddha. That are able to learn skills and capabilities that others don't have. In thinking in terms of economic qualities, when we have skills or capabilities, oh, please come in. I bow to your inner Buddha. Skills or capabilities that others don't have, what happens to us? Yes. When you develop skills or capabilities that others don't have, what happens to you vis-a-vis others? Are we familiar with vis-a-vis? In relationship to others. Put you a step ahead of them. Excellent. What does that mean in economic terms? Become more valuable. Why? When something, let's think back to economics. Will economics be on this test? Did we already deal with the sweet economics? Maybe I'll put it on again. I'm tricky that way. If you have something that others don't have, what's the relationship to that in price? It's more expensive, right? Because it's what? The economic term. There's higher demand for it because why? There's less of it. It's scarce is the word I was looking for, okay? So this explains why, for instance, we lawyers get paid more than others. Because we have a set of skills that not everybody has. If everybody had the same skills that lawyers have, we couldn't charge more for them. Please come in. I bow to your inner Buddha. So the problem with developing those skills, right, is that it's hard, okay? Law school is hard. Law school sucks ass. Law school sucks massive, massive ass when you do it with two little children and working full time. It's really hard. I still, to this day, I have physical symptoms from law school. At some point during law school, from lack of sleep, reading all the time and everything else, something in my eyes detached, and I have, no, I can't like pop them out of my head, but I have little floaty little hairs that kind of drift around. And I went to the eye doctor, and they said, well, the treatment for that is worse than the actual little hairs. I blame law school. I didn't have it before law school, I have it now. I have a knee injury from law school. Because I would sit in my stupid chair and study, and my knees would be like this for hours and hours and hours, right? And then you get up, and, oh, dear Lord, right? And now I get up, law school is done, I still get up, and, oh, I'm an old man. I'm, Crackety Jones. What's that reference to? Who's that? Right on. So you suffer through this because if you manage to come out the other side, you got stuff that others don't have. And when you got stuff that others don't have, you can charge for it. Now, you guys will become inspired. I'm delighted and honored and humbled, and I mean that with no cynicism or sarcasm, that I could have had any teeny little weensy bit of a role in inspiring you to do something. That's why I do this. There's no other reason, right? So, but you'll come out and you say, I'm going to do this thing, and you'll be psyched, and then and what I want you to take away from this is that you, like everybody else on the planet, will hit this dip. You will think it's only I that am hitting this dip. That everybody else just kind of sails through it and doesn't hit this moment where that record that I thought was going to sell off the shelves or off the internets all by itself doesn't. Or that book that I wrote was going to get, whatever. You are going to think that it's only you and it is the angry gods conspiring against you. It is not. It is endemic to innovation. What's endemic? It's a negative inherent characteristic of something. Henry Kissinger said that politics at universities are so high because the stakes are so low. He's right. Politics at universities are endemic. In any case, you will hit this and you will remember now, all of you that are here, that you are not alone in this, and that will give you some comfort, and you will push through this where most people will fall. Right? And once you push through it, you will be more scarce. You will have done something that not everybody else can do, and therefore your value will go up. You will be one of the ones that says, I am going to start a record label, and instead of going along through here. Wow, this is cool. I'm going to start a record label. How fun. We're going to make music. We're going to make cool design and packages and T-shirts and everything else. And then get down here and go, you know, record labels are hard. Let's go drinking, right? You will push through and end up on this side. And whether or not the record label works or not, you will have done something that most other people don't, and your value will go up. I promise you, and I'm looking to hire some people right now for something, I'm not looking for anybody who doesn't have on their resume that they've started some kind of company. Not interested if you haven't. Right? I don't care how genius you are, what your GPA is, what your damn test scores are. If you've started a company, let's talk. If you haven't, don't care. Because I can't, you know, I can tell you about starting companies. I can tell you what you should do and what you shouldn't do, but until you go out there and do it and suffer through it and pull through the dip, I'm not interested in you. As a human being, I'm deeply interested in you. But as an employee, no. And that's only going to become more and more prevalent as we move from these sort of pre-modern institutions that were all based on what school you went to, what your grades were. In the real world. Maybe a few people care, but they're the same people that are at institutions that are dying. They want to hire people that have an entrepreneurial bent that can go out there and get them customers. When I talk to people about working with me, I tell them, I will pay you, I will help you, I will, you know, do everything in the world for you, only if you go and bang on some doors and get customers. I'm not carrying anybody. So get through that dip, whatever it is for you. The first thing you got to start figuring out is, you know, what dip do I want to go down? Right? What particular breed of hell do I want to live through for some period of time so that when I climb up the other side, Radiohead, I will feel better about things. And that's what entrepreneurship is, right? And that is the subject of our class today. Look how neatly you all have stacked our current events. Did I bring in the iPad? Did you guys see the iPad? Huh? Well, you think I was going to give you more than a glimpse? Come on up to the office. Drag your little greasy fingers over. You can buy one, yes. Apparently the iPad is in the news. And Lexus also. What's happening with Lexuses, Sam? Oh, Sam, what's happening with Lexuses? Are you Sam Kennedy? Is Sam? Hi, Sam. You almost got away with it, didn't you? Even in your bright yellow, canary yellow shirt. Canary in a coal mine.
Their Lexus SUV, the GX 460 is being suspended from sales because people have been going on a lot of Consumer Report magazines and stuff and saying that its handling is really bad.
Tips over.
Yeah.
It's a bad quality in a car. We didn't really talk about core competency in this class. Might throw it on the test. What's core competency? It's a good business word you should walk out of a course with. Core competency. Okay, well, let's put it this way. A core competency of a car maker is to make a car that doesn't turn over. Yes?
How do you say the word?
Core, C-O-R-E. Competency. So, Lexus, anybody ever shut the door on a Lexus? Does it have a unique sound? Yes? You're raising your finger in terms of shutting the door or the unique sound? What? No, it doesn't. Anybody shut the door on a Lexus? What does it sound like? What? Very clean. You know what that door is supposed to sound like? The sound, I'm not making this up, the sound that a baby in the womb hears when its mother's heartbeat? Because that is the most comforting sound we know. Because we hear it for 9 months when our little brains are developing. We hear it. So they wanted to make a door sound like that, right? That is not a core competency. That is an added value sort of market thing. If, however, you're driving down the street and your door falls off, you fail. That's your core competency, right? If your car rolls over, you failed, right? Who makes Lexus, Sam? Sorry? How's it going for Toyota these days? They got Priuses with their accelerators kind of accelerating on its own. It's like a go-kart. Now they've got Lexuses, the height of the relentless pursuit of excellence. Is that the Lexus line? Relentless pursuit of something. Should be the relentless pursuit of not tipping over, right, at this point. Poor Toyota. Here's the other Sam. You guys were right next to each other. So where was the Apple postpones iPad's debut? Because like 2/3 of you have this. Was this this top story in Business Week and New York Times or something? Now, Sharon. Hi, Sharon. How are you? You all right? Mm-hmm. Smart spending, free treats, and more for taxpayers. Now, this caught my eye because it's sort of amazing that I'm sober at this moment. Sharon, can you guess why it might be amazing that I'm upright and sober at this moment on this given date, given your?
Because it sounds, I don't know, the title doesn't sound like anything.
I'm sorry?
It doesn't sound, I don't know.
Oh, I'm very interested in this answer because it makes no sense to me whatsoever.
Wait.
I'm sober for what reason? Ah, yes. I just paid my taxes, Sharon.
Okay.
Yes, wrote a just gigantic check. I won't tell you the exact size of this gigantic check, but if I did, you'd want to get drunk for me, right? You'd feel so bad for me. You'd say, really, the only thing, Dr. Howard, that I could do that would be at all helpful to you is to leave this class immediately, go get my friend Don Julio, and spend some quality time together. So it intrigues me to no end that apparently, while I am giving the IRS all of my money, they are giving others free treats. What are these treats that they're giving? Well, unless they're defining a treat is taking all of George's money and giving that to other people.
I don't know, companies like Starbucks and
Is Don Julio one of the companies?
No, but I mean, you get free sweets and stuff tomorrow. I don't know, like
free what?
Like treats.
Treats.
A lot of.
It's a funny word. The more you say it, it becomes increasingly ridiculous. The more you say treat.
I know, it really does.
See if you can weave it in 3 or 4 more times in your sentence. Come on, to challenge you. What's your grade at this point?
I think it's I don't know.
An F?
No.
Oh, a what?
I don't. A or B.
Oh, good. Okay, I was going to say if you wanted to escalate it up a little bit, if you can weave the word treat into your answer 6 times, I'd consider it.
Okay, so tomorrow.
I don't think we've talked to you all semester long, have we?
Yeah, actually.
Oh, we did. Huh?
So tomorrow there's gonna be some special treats given away at Starbucks where you can eat treats.
That was not good at all. Who else? Who would like to try? Who has a C or below in the class right now? Okay. Can you weave treats into a sentence 6 times? I'm only going to give you 2 points on the test, so just so you know, to keep your expectations in check. Do you have some sort of sock on your shoulder? Oh, a towel. Oh. Not sure that makes any more sense, but at least it's not a sock.
Walmart has the best treats that a person that likes treats could ever go and get.
not going to do this anymore. No, you don't have it now. I gave you ample time. It's the end of the semester. You need the 2 points, and you're gonna. You've got 5 seconds to start your sentence and 20 seconds to finish it. Go.
You're sitting at your house in the streets. You can listen to my new mixtape, Nobody's Monologues, which is an audible treat. And after you download it, tell your friends about it and give them treats. And once they figure out that this is a great audible treat, they'll get their other friends to download it, put it up on Facebook, because every entry and post on Facebook is a visual treat. And for those treats,
You're out of time.
he said for those treats.
No. I'm not going to do this anymore. Where is the largest entrepreneurial growth sector? Yes. Pretty obvious at this point, right? Because it's so darn easy to start a business on the internet. But it's not just the ease of getting a business going on the internet. It's the result of all those downsides. Many of you have parents or grandparents that worked at a job at a specific place for years and years, and that place can't sustain them. So, people have decided, I think maybe I better start my own business. Entrepreneurial growth is going like crazy. The cool thing for you all is that you're all sort of entrepreneurs. You're writing songs, you're doing creative stuff, so you understand this far better than many other people. I like to think of entrepreneurship as creative destruction. You want to take a guess at why we think of entrepreneurship as creative destruction? Yes.
When old industries die out, new entrepreneurial industries increase, and so things are being destroyed, but new and improved ways are coming back.
Yeah, that's one way of looking at it. It's certainly not wrong. If an industry dies, then somebody has to creatively come up with a replacement. Yeah.
Kind of like process elimination, like you create something and it doesn't work and you try and
Well, I like that too. Yeah, entrepreneurship, here's a big word for you. Entrepreneurship is necessarily an iterative process. It's one where you very rarely kind of get an idea and it just takes off the first round. Most successful businesses are built on a foundation of failures, right? Now, I don't believe in failure, or I believe failure only exists when you stop. Okay? But you're right. You try something in, but that's not why. Anybody else? Yeah.
like Facebook and MySpace.
What about?
Like MySpace was the old one and Facebook
Yeah, I think you're onto it. In order to create something new, you got to destroy what was there before. Think back to our Lexus and the olive tree, right? And the sort of economic Darwinism that represents. If I'm going to build a new business, and for it to succeed, I kind of am going to be putting maybe something else out of it. Not always. But entrepreneurship is so much about solving problems, looking into the market. What did we call this? This was from the last test when we looked in the market. Environmental scanning, right? And saying, there's a problem out there. I would like a blanket that I could have sleeves in. I didn't realize this was a problem until dude did it, or dudette, or whatever. Now it sells like crazy. Some qualities of entrepreneurship. The great joys in my personal life outside of my family tend to be when I'm in the startup mode with companies. Or, and this is an important point about entrepreneurship, being entrepreneurial does not necessarily mean starting companies. You can be entrepreneurial in an existing company. Some of the companies that I work with have been going on forever, but they now have to solve new problems and new challenges. So you can be an entrepreneur even working for another company. And again, as I said earlier on, those of you looking for jobs, those of you who are saying, look, I don't want to start my own thing, which is fine, by the way, make sure that when you're applying to companies to work for, or individuals or whatever, you figure out what their problems are and how you can solve them. That's a very entrepreneurial way of thinking, and it'll get you the job. So a good entrepreneur does that environmental scan, looks out into the market, sees an opportunity. Typically, they see an opportunity where others don't. Right? And then the difference between an entrepreneur and a dreamer is that the entrepreneur acts. They work through the dip. They get off their butt. Right? We all know people that sit on the chair, the couch, or whatever, say, ah, that's bad, that's wrong, I hate that, oh, these TV shows suck, this music sucks, this sandwich I'm eating sucks, this beer sucks, this couch sucks, this house sucks. Right? You know that guy? Hate that guy. Right? Avoid that guy or girl. It tends to be guys. It's your roommate. Your roommate's boyfriend. Yeah, typically a dude. Often a drummer. Or a bass player. That would have been the next thing. Avoid that person. They will drag you down. But those people don't act. It's really easy to sit on the couch and throw stones because it means never having to confront the dip, right? You get to be on that sort of stage before the dip and looking over to the snow-crested Mount Fuji and passing your eye right over the Grand Canyon of entrepreneurship. Entrepreneurship is about this sector in here. This is where entrepreneurs act. Whereas lame people sit here and look up here, but never cross the chasm. I'm not kidding when I say banish those people from your life. They do you no good. So some other qualities of an entrepreneur. And as you're reading and writing these things down, do a little self-assessment. Is this you? And I keep saying this. It's okay if it's not. And I'll explain why in a minute. It doesn't mean that you're out of the game. Not all of us are cut out to be entrepreneurs, thank goodness. But entrepreneurs typically desire responsibility. They typically have confidence. This is true, and a lot of you should recognize this. When you get some idea, your first impulse is to tell everybody about it. Usually before you should, right? You've got some half-baked idea. What if they put a thing on a hammer so that when you got thirsty, you could uncork it and drink from it and then go back to hammering? Let's call it the beer hammer, right? I'm making this up again. I paid a lot of taxes. I've got beer on the brain, right? Not beer. Uncle Tupelo said beer makes you weary. We tend to have this, right? Bouncing off the wall. I want to do stuff. I'll sleep when I'm dead, right? We're not terribly happy with the present. We get happy momentarily when things like the iPad come out, but I can only tell you how long I've been waiting, longing for the iPad, writing poetry about the iPad. Right? Exceeded them by an order of magnitude. But I am right in the sweet spot for the iPad. Yeah.
How does the iPad compare to like a MacBook Pro?
How does it compare?
Yeah, like how does
It's a completely different animal.
So like why would you, if you already have a MacBook Pro, why would you want to get an iPad? If you already have a laptop, why would you need an iPad?
It's just a much nicer experience to consume media on the iPad than it is on the laptop. It's a different thing. I'm not going to write a book on my iPad. However, I will read books on the iPad. I will watch movies on the iPad. I will control my audio on the iPad. I will control my lights on the iPad. I will play games on the iPad. I will enjoy an 11-hour battery life on the iPad. I will watch movies in the bed without risk of scorching my thighs on the iPad. Right? So it's very different. If you don't consume a lot of media, don't buy it. But I'm somebody that if I have to go on a 2-day business trip, I would schlep around 10 or 12 magazines, 8 or 10 books. You know, it's a pain in the ass. Now I carry a 1.5 pound thing. It's remarkable. Remarkable, yes.
Is yours Fuji?
No, mine is Wi-Fi, but I have an iPhone, and I'm typically in places where there is Wi-Fi, and I just couldn't wait. Yes?
You agree with the statement that the iPad is just kind of reverting people back to that like TV dinner, like sit in front of the TV?
Oh, I hate that argument. Because it's not open source?
Huh?
Because it's not open source?
I guess so. I just
No. I believe that the iPad is probably the first, certainly the best device at making the device transparent. I mean that when you're using the iPad, you lose track of the fact that you're using a piece of machinery and you just access the material directly. The technology becomes transparent. And we're finally at that place where on your laptop you get the spinning beach ball of death. And whatever you might be doing at that time, you're in a flow, writing something, playing a game, chat rouletting, and all of a sudden the spinning beach ball of death comes up. Boy, that'll kill a chat roulette session so fast, man. Things are just starting to heat up with the Romanian girl that you just met, right? And she actually is chatting you back, you know, and things are going good and everything else, and then Flash has crashed, right? Well, the iPad won't use Flash because it crashes too much.
It'll just use another software.
No, it will use proprietary Apple software that will be much, much better. Okay? And that's where they are. Do I agree that all companies should do that? And am I anti-open source? No. But I do know that open source tends to lead to built by committee, right? Trying to please everybody. And I know that that doesn't work. When you do that, you get MySpace music. Yeah.
What does YouTube use that allows it to
HTML5. Yes. Should we make this the iPad class? Go ahead.
So you use open source like Google?
Yes, I do.
And, I mean,
Ugly as sin, but very functional for this particular purpose.
I mean, with the fact that they like restrain a lot of people from entering into the App Store, like the Sling box.
Because the Sling box is in the App Store. I have it on my iPad.
Oh, okay.
But they do that to keep quality levels high. Check out the Android store sometime if you don't believe me. Enjoy that experience. Or better, check out Nokia's new store. Give that a shot. This open source ethos, I get. I understand the wisdom of the crowd. But as I said a couple weeks ago, crowds need leaders. Crowds need people that go, yeah, you're full of shit. Leave this crowd. You're not allowed to be in this crowd anymore, right? And if you make it completely open source, any jackass in the world can put their 2 cents in and cause insurmountable friction. It happens on chat rooms all the time, which are open source. It happens on chat roulette to some frequency, I would imagine. Anybody who wants to get on chat roulette gets on chat roulette, right? And what is the vast majority of people on chat roulette? Are these people you want to hang out with in person? There's your open source. Okay? Bunch of dicks. You have to have some ability to organize, right? Here's a key thing. When people screw this up, they think somehow that you know, I'm going to start a business and get rich. Guess what? You won't. Start a business because you can't not. Start a business because it provides you with purpose. Start a business because you lie awake at night thinking about this thing, and then you wake up in the morning and you can't wait to do it. Start a business because you're busy doing that thing rather than studying for my test. Start a business because it'll get you out of the house. Start a business so you can change the world. But don't start a business so that you can get rich. At least not your first couple. You got to have that commitment to get through the dip, right? You see these entrepreneurs that start, they're not entrepreneurs, by the way, they're dreamers that start something, and then as soon as it gets hard, they stop. And then they're on to the next thing. Oh, that didn't work, that was too hard. Again, it's only those that will claw themselves up the dip, that will learn the skills, learn the capabilities, that will make them more valuable and more scarce, and make them create something that others can't. Do you get it? If you're willing to put the time and the energy and the effort into creating something that others can't, it necessarily becomes more valuable than the people that create something that everybody already has. The difference is, it's hard. Entrepreneurship is not t-ball. We all don't get to play. So why would you do this? Well, you know, these are all nice, right? The real reason you're going to do this is because you're not going to have any good alternatives. The real reason you do this is because you're going to look out into the job market And you're going to go, yeah, you know, I don't know how many times I can say, would you like fries with that? I don't know how many times I can pronounce the words grande, frappe, mochaccino, right? And eventually you're going to get sick to death of it. And you're going to think, what I really want to do, and then you're going to remember this class, and you're going to go, okay, I'm going to try that for a while. And you're going to give yourself permission to fail. You're going to give yourself permission to go to mom and dad, but what I really want to do is this thing. And yes, I will work some shit job while I do that thing. And no, I will not complain about it all the time, because you're making a choice. Right? You can just work the shit job and then go home and drink. People do that. Or you can make the choice to work the shit job and work at your sexy job also, and you will not complain about that because you're making a choice. Don't be that person who complains about it. People don't like that person. But it does do all these other things also. You get to make the roadmap. Your destiny is not created by somebody who puts their hand and says, well, you can do this, you're allowed to do this, or you can go through this door, or you can't go through this door, or you get a raise and you don't get a raise, right? You get tired of that. You can be a social entrepreneur and actually make a difference. In fact, if you don't, you're lame. You can make full potential. You can actually push yourself, right? You'll have to. You can make money, right? But it ain't for everybody. And this is why I say you'll have your money job and you'll have your sexy job for some period of time, because your sexy job won't pay anything for some period of time. And you'll have to have your money job to sustain you. And yes, basic arithmetic tells us that means you're working 2 jobs, maybe more. But you are willing to go through that dip and climb up the other side where most people won't. Most people will work sexy job and shitty job for a little while and then abandon sexy job. And those that get over the dip have done something that not everybody else does. Typically, there's some investment that has to be kicked into this. I'll talk about that in our accounting class coming up a little bit. But the great thing about the internet is that it lowers barriers of entry. You got an idea, you want to write a book, you want to write a screenplay, you want to make music, you want to do whatever, start it. You don't need a whole lot of initial outlay of cash. Right? But you can lose it all. And you can, you know, the 3 F's of finance, friends, family, and fools, right? You can lose their money too, and it sucks to lose mom and dad's money. But if mom and dad are smart about it, they'd rather invest now and get a payday later than have to support your pale ass for the rest of your life. The quality of life sucks because you're working 2 jobs. It is very stressful, lots of responsibility, and everyone you know will look at you the way a dog looks at a person showing him a card trick. Right? When you say, well, I'm starting this business. Because to many people, it just doesn't make sense. They can't process it. But you know you're on to something when this starts happening. Be very skeptical when you tell somebody your business idea and they go, oh, that's great. It means it's probably already been done. Be much more excited when you tell people and they go, I don't know. I don't know if that'll work. That doesn't sound, why don't you just, I hear Starbucks is hiring. Use that as fuel. So how do we screw it up? How do all businesses fail? Bad management, and bad management, right? Lack of experience. This is why starting early makes so much sense. Right? Start your entrepreneurial endeavor now, where you don't have all the liabilities, you don't have a mortgage, you don't have kids, you don't have big car payments, college debt, all this stuff that will make it much harder to do once you're out of school. Gain some of that experience. Successful businesses are built on a foundation of failed businesses. Right? Financial controls. Most people who start businesses wouldn't know a balance sheet if it hit them on the head. You won't have that excuse after another class or so. Marketing, if there's been an overarching theme in this class, it's been about marketing. Right? It's been about figuring out who your market is, figuring out what you care about, figuring out where there are other people that have the same care, putting them together. You got to have a plan. I'm constantly amazed. I ask people in the music industry or other industries, well, what's your plan? What's your strategic plan? Do you have one? And again, the dog is showing a card trick. Often, and this is a good problem, but it happens when we started TuneCore, right? Some of you use TuneCore. We got hammered. The first month, the site just wouldn't stay up. People wanted the service. People wanted to get their music up on iTunes or whatever, and they were using us, but we had built it with rubber bands and paper clips, and it kept crashing the site. We had uncontrolled growth. We couldn't, and it almost killed us. Right? We had to frantically go out and trade equity for coders and everything else. I'm okay with that, you know. I'd rather have it that way than the other way. This, you know, doesn't matter so much on the internet, although URLs are sort of important. You know, be careful of your URLs. Don't put apostrophes in your name. I work with a company that has an apostrophe in their name. Bad URL. Obvious pricing. And here, you know, the point on this is people race to the bottom. When you're pricing your thing, whatever that thing is, don't go too low, too fast. Sales pricing is the last vestige of the marketer. When all else fails, lower the price. But there's a lot to be said, and you guys, I know, really just want to talk about the iPad. But Apple has huge margins on their stuff because they don't just lower the price. They find value. They convince people that there's value in their goods that people are willing to pay a premium for. That's a better business model than, let's see how cheap we can make it. Remember, competitive advantage is better or cheaper. Go with better. The music business is in some respect in the dire straits that it is, because back in like 1990 or so, 88, 90, the retailers all said, you know what would be great if CDs cost $10. And before that, they cost $17, and people weren't terribly happy with it, but they paid it because there was a perceived value, right? And then the retailer said, no, we need to have it 10, and we hit 10, and everybody went, you know, why are we even bother paying 10? It only costs $1 to make the CD, and it should be 2 or free. We lost the perceived value. Whereas if you think about movie tickets and some other things, they've managed to keep a perceived value there. So don't lose it. All right, the inability to make the entrepreneurial transition transitions us to management. So two really, really, really different characteristics go on between the entrepreneur and the manager, right? Entrepreneurs have a very different personality than managers. Entrepreneurs are very, what's the best adjective I can use? A certain dissatisfaction with entrepreneurs that drives them to be impetuous, you know that word? That drives them to sort of say, you know, screw it, I'm going to go do this thing. And they tend to have less of a cautious personality, whereas the best managers are the ones that will think before they leap. Entrepreneurs leap before they think, right? Managers think before they leap. I just came up with that, and I kind of like it. I'm going to keep saying it. It's not as fun to say as treat. And the best definition I can give you, and this is, I think, Peter Drucker's definition, getting things done through other people. Now, the first thing that you should think of if you are a sort of Renaissance person, whose law does this sort of, or axiom does this sort of violate? Oh, look at you guys. This is why I love you all. Yes. This sort of seems to violate Kantian ethics of treating people as a means to an end rather than treating them as an end to themselves. And what I would say to that is that it's a reciprocal relationship, right? If you're an employee, what are you doing? You're using your boss to get what? Money. So one way that you sort of wrestle with the Kantian ethic is that if it's reciprocal, if everybody knows what's going on, yes, I am performing a service for you, You're getting something out of it, but I'm getting something out of performing that service. And we're all clear and we're transparent and we've disclosed there aren't any problems. Where you get into problems with Kant is when you use someone as a means to an end and that person isn't aware of it. Right? It's a subtle distinction, but I think it's pretty obvious once you work through it a little bit. Did we like the Enron movie, by the way? We didn't really talk about that. Pretty blatant case of using other people as a means to an end there. And some kind of key things that you want to take away from that are transparency, right? Disclosure. Those are really the ethical things. You want to take away the idea that, you know, the fish rots from the head, right? So Skilling and Lay and those guys created a culture of just completely unethical behavior, and it trickled all the way down through the fish to the tail so that everybody there, in order to work there, you wouldn't survive there unless you were unethical. They created a culture in which an ethical person would have been fired. And look what happened. So, some domains of management, and this you'll want to memorize. Alex, I'm sure you had that. And so everyone who's gone through a MBA program or whatever remembers POD C. PODC. It's what we all, certain ones that you just never forget. Lord help us. Planning, organizing, directing, and controlling. That's what managers do. And we'll talk about each one a little bit. Gracie? Hi, Gracie. Do you respond to all of your relevant emails?
I try to.
How many emails do you get a day, Gracie?
I'd say 15.
15. Yeah, if you're getting 15 emails a day, you can probably respond. Now, how many of those are Facebook alerts saying you've gotten an invitation from them?
I blocked a lot of those emails.
Can you block them selectively?
Yeah, you can choose which ones you want.
You can? I can't figure that out.
Yeah.
You can make a label on Google.
No, I can do it on Google. I could filter them on Google. But I just wonder if you could, at the source, block. Please do not send me any more emails. I do not want to be your friend.
Yeah, I block a lot of those. I get like a lot of if I order online, then they keep
Sure.
sending me emails.
Yeah.
And then just organization emails.
Yeah.
I try to read as much as I can. But
Yeah, I find email to be a horribly, as any of you who have emailed me know, horribly inefficient system at this point. I can't,
it's nice that you can take your time to respond. So it's not like person to person
Yeah.
where you have to give an answer right away. You can take your time to think about it, and no one really knows exactly. I guess emotions can get kind of mixed up.
Tone is hard in email. It's hard to be ironic in email. No, but I haven't counted it, but I got to figure a couple hundred a day come in to me, and they get below the fold, they're gone.
Right.
What am I going to do? Scroll back and they're goodbye? Well, no, they don't feel. It's just they're gone. Essentially. So, you have a couple people that you keep your eyes out for, but we need a better system. I do better with Twitter. Somebody shoots me a direct message or something. That was Gracie's article. I didn't just randomly ask her about email. I figured we'd have a little conversation while you were writing. So the planning element, right? Business plan, the famous business plan. I hate business plans. I think most of them are worthless. If I'm still here and you guys are still here and we have entrepreneurship together, whatever, I'll show you how to write a business plan that actually means something. But you can do it in about 10 PowerPoint slides. And it's if anybody's interested, by the way, it's not my plan. Just all of you entrepreneurs, go buy Guy Kawasaki's The Art of the Start. Read it over the summer. Yes, we have an endorsement for The Art of the Start right here. And he talks about the 10, 20, 30 rule of business plans. You should be able to sum up a business in 10 slides with no type being smaller than 30-point type, so big, and do it in 20 minutes. And he's right. Strategic plans, They help you sort of manage your policy, your strategy, obviously, the strategic plans, how you get from point A to point B. And then project plans, timelines, I don't know. You need a plan, right? And there are various ways to kind of articulate a plan, but you need a plan that you can follow and one that you'll work with. Organize, staff. Right? Human resource management, you'll hopefully be lucky enough to have Dr. Reed. Did you have Dr. Reed for your HR class? Not yet. Great. And she teaches HR, and a lot of what I talk about in terms of values-based management, all that stuff is cued from her. You know, all that really matters, Jim Collins wrote a book called Good to Great, and he talks about figure out first who you want to work with and then figure out what you want to do, not the other way around. So he puts the emphasis squarely on people. Find people, and it doesn't necessarily mean your friends, although the values should align, but you don't want to have a lot of redundancy. Excuse me. One thing most of you guys are going to need to do is become friends with a web designer or a web coder. Because every one of you are going to come up with an idea that you think is killer, and you're going to need a website, and you're going to get stuck. And yes, we move closer to a day where the layman or laywoman can just put a website together from dragging and dropping stuff in templates, but we're not there yet. And I don't know, frankly, if we'll ever get there. I thought we would. I don't know anymore. So you need complementary HR stuff. You need somebody with a brain for finance. You need somebody with a brain for web stuff. You need an entrepreneur. It's wonderful when all of these things roll together. It doesn't happen often. The guy that started eBay, coder, entrepreneur, kaboom. Jeff Bezos, coder, entrepreneur, kaboom. Ian Rogers at Topspin, coder, entrepreneur, kaboom. Most of the time, it's two people. Have you ever noticed this? Right? A lot of companies get started with two people because they've got sort of complementary skills. Facebook was sort of two people. YouTube was two people. Google was the two guys. PayPal was two guys. A lot of guys. Let's get some women entrepreneurs going too. They're out there. Let's do a class on women entrepreneurs. It'd be a far more interesting class. Structure, you know, how are you going to manage stuff? How are you going to put together? Directing. Leadership. It's kind of got to be a boss. Don't like it, but it's true. Somebody's got to be in charge. And this comes up a lot with bands, by the way. And one of the reasons I like teaching this class with a bunch of musicians in it is you've all experienced, many of you have experienced band dynamics. You know, you got four people trying to do something together. In the case of a band, you're trying to make music and get gigs and do whatever. It's no different with any other business. And inevitably, you'll run into some scenario where somebody in the band wants to do something, usually the drummer, and the rest of the band doesn't. And how do we decide? And I spent an inordinate amount of time drafting up intra-band agreements for people. You need them. Got four bands. One of them's a songwriter. The other three are not. Song gets used in a movie. Songwriter gets rich. Other three don't. Problems ensue. Got four people in a band. Two people think you should play a gig. The other two don't. Who decides? Problems ensue. So you need to have these agreements, but the exact same thing happens in any company where there's more than one person, so you got to have a leader. And leadership, there are whole courses on this, and I'm going to talk, talk a little bit about leadership, I guess, next week. But this is how you direct. Right? Controlling, this really has to do with how are you, what structures are you putting in place to measure and track stuff? Businesses fail because they don't have measurable goals. Or Braden will tell you, and make my whatever class that is, sit there and tell me their gap analysis. Make them tell me, okay, we have X number of emails, and we want to have X cubed. How are we going to get there? And the class does not like this, Braden, do they? Because I make them put numbers on things that they don't think numbers should go, right?
Yes.
We want to be a bigger band. Fine. put a number to it. We don't like this. But if you don't have that, if you don't have a roadmap of some sort of control, it won't get done, period. You guys still copying? I'll see who else I can pick on here. JC? Where's JC? Hi, JC. Do we like the Twitter policy? Yes.
Business plan.
What is this new business plan?
Talks about adding library devices and iPhone devices.
They're going to allow people to essentially run ads, so when people search for things on Twitter, it'll show up higher. Right? That's how they're going to try and make money. So if you have a product or service, perhaps you're selling pink trousers. Are they pink? Are they denim? Are they pink jeans? Or some sort of they're khakis. Yes. What's the word I was looking for? I love this word. Gabardine. Are they gabardine? Are they linen? They might be linen pants. Very spring. You got the whole thing going on. You got the little alligator on your shirt and the. So, JC, supposing who makes this? Are this Brooks Brothers pants? Polo. You got it all. You've consolidated your look to a very, very distinct, precise thing. What kind of shoes are we rocking? Yes, the dock size. Yes, I would have suspected nothing less. Good. I like your style. So supposing you were Polo and you wanted, when somebody searched for pink gabardine trousers in Twitter, for that to come up top, you could pay for that. Now supposing you were that person searching, you know what I need? Some pink gabardine trousers, right? And I put it in Twitter. Are you going to be happy or sad if a Polo ad shoots up? Are you okay? Yeah. See, I have you in my line of sight and you're doing this. You need a beverage? Frosty beverage? You all right? She just gave you a beverage. So are you happy or sad about this? You'd be pleased. And that's what Twitter's banking on, right? Because people are searching for stuff in Twitter. Why would they do this? Why would you search in Twitter?
You want people's opinion.
I'm sorry?
You want people's opinion. Real.
Sorry, JC, what were you saying? Well, see, here's the thing. Right now, if you search in Twitter, you're going to get results from whom? Sorry, JC? Just Twitter users, right? Now they're selling these ads, you're going to get results from whom? People who pay the most. So are these ads making Twitter more or less authentic? So we'll talk a little bit about leadership here. And this comes again from Good to Great Jim Collins. He talks about there being 5 levels of leaders. And level 1 doesn't mean that you're, horrible. You're an individual. You don't play well with others. But you're capable. Maybe you just like doing stuff on your own. Level 2, you can be on a team. You can't lead a team, but you can be on the team. You can be led. You're not so socially dysfunctional that you can't even be on a team. Level 3, you could actually manage a team. You could be a Starbucks manager, perhaps. Manage a small team, which is no small feat. Managing a Starbucks, it's hard. I think they do okay. I've heard anecdotally that like McDonald's managers make 6 figures. Yeah, the managers. Maybe not all the franchises, but I think that's right. Anybody validate that? Anybody else hear that? I'm just making it up. Is that right? Yeah. It's a hard job. I wouldn't want to manage a McDonald's. Can you imagine? Pay me enough to manage a McDonald's. But level 4 goes from being a competent manager, in other words, the ship isn't constantly sinking, to somebody that actually can lead. And so you can see, pulling this apart, that there's a distinction. The distinction between a manager and a leader. Anybody, what distinguishes, who's a good leader? Give me an example of a good leader. Yes, George. The jazz saxophone? Who? No, what? Give me an example of an actual person. You've got a T-shirt on. I didn't just point that out because you had a T-shirt on. I was trying to give you a hint. Sorry? I wouldn't, maybe, yeah, certainly. Who's the coach? What's the guy, Sean Payton? Is he a good leader? Sorry? I think so. Yeah. Who else? Abe Lincoln. I don't, I guess so. Who else?
Steve Jobs.
Yeah, maybe. Certainly inspires a sort of fanatical devotion. What's that?
Just saying the direction he took his company.
Yeah. No, we're gonna bring him up again in a second. So keep him in mind. Anybody else? Sorry? Obama? Hope, right? Yeah. Who else? How about let's go the other way? Who's a bad leader?
Hitler.
You know what Hitler is? Hitler is the very definition of what we call a charismatic leader, right? That preys on people's emotions and is able to sort of coerce people into doing things that they otherwise wouldn't. And there is a real fine distinction between being a great leader and a cult leader. Both of them share charisma. Who else? Sorry? Maybe, yeah. Ken Lay. Good one. Absentee leader, right? Wasn't there. But a level 5 leader takes it up one step further. This is the thing I want you to remember. A great leader has a weird, seemingly contradictory nature. They have humility, they're humble, but fierce will. And this is why I kind of hesitated a bit with Jobs. Well, for 2 reasons. One, I don't know. See, one of the reasons you guys struggled with telling me who a great leader is because great leaders tend to be working, right? They tend to put the value of their company or their product above the value of getting them on the cover of a magazine, right? They're naturally humble and they don't see any reason to do that. Now, they'll go do it if it does some good for the company, but usually those things don't, frankly. You're much better off focusing your time and your energy on making sure you're running the company well, so you don't have time to go out there being on the cover of magazines and everything else. Jobs, let's put it this way, he doesn't shy away from media opportunities, right? The other thing about a level 5 leader is this enduring quality. And it relates back to humility. They want the business to exist after they're gone. Now, several years ago when Steve Jobs had his various health scares, what happened to Apple stock? Because people couldn't imagine an Apple without Steve Jobs. I think he's actually done a pretty good job in the recent years of sort of saying, look, I'm not going to be here forever and I'm trying to set up a company that'll survive after me. But, you know, we all really can't imagine an Apple without Steve Jobs. So, as I say, we've got this mix of humility and will. You should have already copied that down. But they're also have ambition that is about the company, not about them. Right? I'm going to build a great, enduring thing, and it ain't about me. And you'll know this when you're doing something like this. Right? I'm lucky enough to work for a company where I've got a similar feeling, where, you know, I'm just psyched to be able to play a small role in this, and I want this not to have anything to do with, I don't want it attached to me, I want the company to grow. Doesn't mean you're not ambitious. You're channeling that ambition to the company. It's not personal. This is again the jobs thing, right? Is he setting up a successor for greater success than even he had or she had? Level 4 leaders cannot imagine their company going on after they're gone. They're so intertwined, their personal identity is so intertwined with the company that the very idea that somebody else would be running it is anathema to them. And so they set it up for failure.
Would that be kind of right?
Yeah, I think that's a real good example. They can have a lot of problems, quite frankly.
Would
Yeah.
Bill Gates be considered a good leader?
I think so. I mean, I think I have a lot of problems with Microsoft, but you know, inarguably they're a massive company. I don't know if they're necessarily a good company, but they're a massive company. And he kind of has entrusted Ballmer and some others, and he's doing his charitable thing. We can certainly envision a world with Microsoft going on without Bill Gates more easily than we can Apple going on without Steve Jobs, right? It's a good example. Think about a company like Exxon. Do you even know who runs Exxon? It's the most profitable company in the world by a long shot. Makes Apple look like a little flea. And we don't even know who runs it. So some qualities. They tend to be modest, self-effacing, and understated. This should give some of you comfort. Because I think there's a bad stereotype that leaders or whatever have to be these dominant alpha male things. Horseshit. That's all part of this pre-industrial stereotype. The leaders today have one huge thing in common, 2 points for anybody that can guess it on the next test. What do all successful leaders have in common today? Think back to social entrepreneurship. There's one word. Starts with an E. 2 points for you. Empathy. They're able, make sure you tell Alex for your next test. They're able to put themselves in somebody else's shoes and understand. And this relates back to emotional intelligence. Most leaders don't have huge IQ test scores, some do, but they've got massive emotional intelligence test scores. They can understand complex relationships and dynamics, both interpersonal and systemic. They have empathy. Guys that beat their fist on a table, typically guys, don't have any empathy, and they're an endangered species. This is not to say that they are not driven. They're fanatically, obsessively driven. I think another quality that you see in leaders is borderline OCD disorder. They can't stop thinking about certain things. I know I've worked with many of those. It's no fun. But this is their white whale. This is the thing that they're going to track down. They've got to have sustained results. They can't stand variance. Well, why did we have this day and this day? I can't. You must explain it to me. And they're going to make their company great, right? And sometimes that means making decisions that are unpopular, that are hard, but that's what they focus on. Not a leader. He's a tech guy. Hell of a dancer, though. My wife watches the Dances with the Stars, or as I call it, Dances with the Jackasses. He was. You know who's on it now that is just completely insufferable is that Kate Gosselin woman. She's some, I don't know what her story is. She's just some horrible woman. And I keep asking Marcy, who is this woman? And she's married to some dude and has a bunch of kids or something. None of which to me makes any sense as to why she's on this dancing show. But she's just like the definition of a horrible person. You know? Anybody know who I'm talking about? Yeah, Kate Gosselin, yeah. Am I wrong in thinking that? Like I tune into the show, just it gets this. It's like I have to watch just how horrible this person is. It's weird. I don't know. Have you seen it?
No, I've seen her with kids.
Yeah, see, I haven't seen any of that stuff, and that might change. But on the dancing show, you just ugh. So level 5 leaders, more plow horse than show horse. Again, keep kind of hammering this point. They want to get the work done. They're not interested in having their own, Donald Trump reality show or something, right? Now, Trump has sort of used all that media, not to what end, I don't know, but apparently this helps him with his, the guy manages to stay in the game. But you have to wonder if he's, I wonder about Donald Trump, dear Lord. Freak. So the window mirror effect, right? In this I think sports is a good analogy here. If you watch sports, and I don't, but people tell me that a coach will say after a game at a press conference or something, he'll say when he wins, oh, it wasn't me, it was the team, and I want to, and on the other hand, if they lose, the coach will say it was me, I did it, I screwed it up, right? Is that consistent with good coaches? So if something good happens, a good leader will give the credit outside, and not in a false, ungenuine way, but will really believe it. Something bad happens, because of that focus, they will say, I screwed up. They're not going to pass blame on to their employees. It's just distasteful. So how do you avoid these management pitfalls, right? Know your business. And again, knowing your business means getting out there and doing something. I can't teach you all of it. Knowing the business means getting in the dip, right? Have a business plan. Have a financial plan. You're going to understand, you're going to have a little more understanding on balance sheets and stuff coming up. Have empathy, right? And have a purpose. Remember your purpose idea? Have a purpose. And we are done. So you may copy and leave.